Okay, so at this point, I would share the screen again, and we can start fully. So relocating to Germany for work webinar. I still hope you can see my screen. So today we are talking about 4 different paths you may want to consider if you want to relocate to Germany for work. Now we're talking about Ausbildung. I would explain what Ausbildung means shortly, so you don't have to be alarmed. And Dual-studium, skilled work, and registered nurse program. There are other programs, but these are the 4 we're talking about today. And of course, there are other countries, but we're talking about Germany today. Okay, so what is Ausbildung? Ausbildung is simply vocational traineeship. Well, that is our own translation of Ausbildung, because Ausbildung is a German word. So it's difficult to give this, direct one-to-one translation of what it means. But this is like the best way we can, translate it to make you have a feel of what it must mean. Vocational traineeship, some form of, it's not exactly internship, but it's traineeship pretty much. So one of the surest means to relocating to Germany is via the Ausbildung program. Why? Because it kind of caters for everybody. Everybody can fit into Ausbildung, whether you already have certain skills or you need certain skills, because Ausbildung itself is for you to acquire skills. So with Ausbildung, whatever you have studied in the past can fit in. That is why it's one of the surest ways, one of the means that people are considering or looking into recently. So it is vocational training. You get paid on the job, like you get on the job experience whilst you also attend a vocational school. So it's a dual program. So you attend a vocational school and then you also work with a company that pays you. It lasts between 2 and 3.5 years. Now, did you know that 2/3 of German students go straight for Ausbildung after leaving school? So that means when they leave their high school, they just go straight. Many of them go straight to Ausbildung instead of going to maybe a university or something. Many of them prefer Ausbildung because they get to get practical training. Now, the program has been open to foreigners to benefit from. In fact, just recently, another bill, they started working on another bill. They are even trying to make it much more easier for people to come into Germany, the new administration. So it means it's going to even become much more sweeter for foreigners to be able to benefit from programs such as Ausbildung and the other ones we're going to be talking about today. Now, about 60,000 positions in vocational traineeship could not be filled, in 2020 when all these things started, to be open to foreigners. So this is one of the reasons this has become the in thing now for people to come into Germany, especially through Ausbildung. Now the German chancellor the current chancellor is particular about this. I mean, the current administration is particular about this program. So why Ausbildung? Do you know that as advanced nations are more interested in skilled workers than theoretical graduates? So if you are a skilled worker, you are actually, you are much more valuable. More countries will want you than when you are just a theoretical graduate. Theoretical graduate meaning you just have the certificate. Developed nations are not interested in those who just carry their certificates everywhere without being able to to prove, to be able to defend the certificate, or people who are not who can get their hands dirty, as I call it sometimes. So how valuable are you? So now for Ausbildung, many people get this value, especially those, for instance, who were not opportune in the beginning to, maybe at the beginning of their lives, they weren't able to do courses that, could have put them in a position. Not just for those people, I'm just citing an example. Ausbildung creates a chance for you to be able to do this. Now, of course, you learn on the job whilst you also get a certificate. So people learn on the job and then they get certificate after the program. They get paid from the first month of the training. And of course, for me, what is most interesting about it is you get full-time job employment. I mean, it's like it's almost assured, because at that point you have skills, you have certificates, then you are needed, you are wanted. Most companies that you work with, or let's say most companies that people do their traineeship with, will retain them after this program. That makes it like a secure job kind of for people. And others, of course, if they wish, they can decide to move, cross over to other companies instead of where they train. So it's an assured job situation. As long as you can get into Ausbildung, you're already set for something great. That is why it is one of the things it's one of the opportunities people should really consider. Now, what other benefits do you gain from Ausbildung? You have 24 business days or 4 weeks of annual leave. Like, this is almost like what happens most times in most organizations. And then, people even still get extra hours. Apart from, they have extra hours that they can work. So apart from the normal working hours you're at work and the company you work with, if you want to make more money, you can decide to go and work elsewhere for an extra 10 hours is allowed during your Ausbildung program. And then some employers provide housing allowance, and some provide subsidy for monthly transport and everything. And then afterwards, you do an exam, you get a certificate after training. Don't forget, you get a certificate from the vocational school. And then you still get, something from your place of work, like it's a job. You worked with them, so they can write recommendations for you if you want. And of course, you can get retained, like I said earlier. So how does Ausbildung work? Many people, of course, do ask me, okay, so this thing you've been talking about, how exactly does it work? So now you train with a company, a German company, for 2 to 3 years, depending on the job field. And now it usually begins between August and September. Like most times, some companies will begin in August, some companies will begin in September. It's a regulated program. It's a federal regulated program, such that everybody begins. It's just like you are going into school. And it's just that, let's say, if education year starts in September, then, all schools will start. So all companies that take in Ausbildung people resume, as in they get their Ausbildung guys to resume in August or September. So now the duration depends on the field. Of course, some fields can finish in 2 years. Some fields will have to take 2.5, some take 3 years, depending on the field. And of course, if you've had some experience in the past that is related to the field you want to do Ausbildung, you will most likely have the opportunity to even get your Ausbildung time cut. So you can reduce the time you spend in Ausbildung, as a trainee. And then the second thing is you get paid during your training years. From the first month, this is one of the most interesting things about Ausbildung. From the first month, you already get paid. So it is not that you are there and you are just working or going to school and doing stuff and you are not being paid for it. You get paid from month 1. Now, there's even an average salary. Now, 620 is about the minimum, though there's an average salary of around 963 euros. It can be higher. Of course, it is usually higher, actually, in most cases, especially for professions, some professions that fall under the highly sought after. For instance, if you're talking engineering, of course, most times they will have over 1,000 IT guys, you already know, or you're talking about medical field. Most times all those ones have very high fee. Now, the way it works, what you earn in your first year, as you proceed, as you make progress in the company, like your first year, you start with something, your second year, it increases, your third year, it increases. So your salary actually gets to increase. And after your traineeship, you get a certificate and a full-time job offer in most cases. Or, of course, you can go elsewhere to get what the point is, you will get a job. That we can assure you that you will get. It's almost impossible to finish Ausbildung and not get a job. Almost impossible. And then there's also a chance of you get your permanent residency after 2 years. And then, of course, German citizenship is possible after, there's a way it works, after a couple of fewer years in addition. And of course, you can decide that after your Ausbildung, you want to go for other things. You want to do another bachelor's, you want to do another master's. So if you have never done either of these things, you can decide you want to go and do them. You can really do anything you want, no limitation with Ausbildung. Let's move on. Now, possible professions. I get this question all the time. I get it. Like, people want to, oh, my slides. it's moving. Okay, so possible professions. So people always ask, so which professions can I mean, does Ausbildung or do Ausbildung cater for? They want to know which professions they can actually, which kind of, places they can work, what kind of professions Ausbildung covers. Now, over 300 officially recognized training programs, Ausbildung training programs exist in Germany. What this means is almost all fields are available. So just think about it, and there's a very high chance that that field actually exists under the Ausbildung program. So IT, engineering, medicals, pure science, if you want to do crafts, and then crafts, or tailoring, whatever, finance, and then medicals, almost every field exists. So the truth is there's almost no way you won't find something that works for you if you are actually interested in Ausbildung. And that is one of the important things about Ausbildung. So what are the requirements? Just two major requirements, actually. If you cut this requirement, if you are able to meet up with these two requirements, you have a very high chance of getting into an Ausbildung program. So a minimum of a high school certificate, but of course, I always make people know that your high school certificate should at least be decent. You get what I mean? Like, don't come with an high school certificate maybe with all Fs. You get what I mean? Of course, that might not be cool enough. It might be difficult to find an organization that will be, attracted to someone who has very horrible, you get what I mean, results in their high school. So if you have a decent high school certificate, and then the important one again is the German language skills. Of course, when you were registering for this event, I'm sure you had to answer questions. And one of the questions you answered was, are you interested in learning the language? For this program to work for you, this particular one, you need the language. And the minimum level is a B1 of the German language. Why? If you work, Germany, the official language in Germany is German. So if you want to work in Germany, it's only logical that you should have the language skills, right? Fine. We know that you can get a job in Germany without, German. If you speak English, you can't get a job. But the point is, for Ausbildung, it is a regulated program. And because people have a higher possibility of getting a job in Germany when they have the language skills. That is why a program like this that is regulated, of course, they need their rules. So they need people to have the language, because you would also be getting the vocational learning, the one in the school, in the language. You'll be working also in the language. So you need the language to be able to attend your classes. You need the language to be able to also be able to function at work. And that is why this is the minimum requirement. So these two major requirements are what you need for Ausbildung, and you are good to go. And of course, applications begin and some other things, but these are the official requirements. Now let's move from Ausbildung and come to the next thing, because I told you we are talking about 4 things today. So the second one is Dual-studium. It's like dual studies. From the name, you already most likely have an idea of what it means. Now, Dual-studium or dual studies looks almost like Ausbildung. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost the same thing. So it's like you get to work and then you get bachelor's. I explained that when you do Ausbildung, you get a vocational traineeship certificate when you're done. When you are doing this one, you also get to work with a company whilst you are in school. But once you are done, you go to a school where you can get bachelor's. You're not going to a vocational school. So you go to a bachelor's degree issuing institution, and that is where you do this one. So you get to get a bachelor's, and you also get to get a job. That is fantastic, right? You get everything you want at once. So it's pretty much the same as Ausbildung, but like I said, the difference, you study between 3 and 3.5, because bachelor's in Europe, in most European countries, bachelor's, the average number of years you spend for your bachelor's degree is 3 years. That's average in Europe. For people who come from countries where maybe it's 4, it's 3 in Europe averagely. And then so you get to have to study. It can't be less than that if you want a dual studies. You get to, because since it's bachelor's, you get between 3 and 3.5 years, and then you earn the bachelor's degree after. Now, you need an equivalent of German university entrance qualification. I need to stress this for those who are considering this option already. If you're already thinking about it as I'm speaking, I need to express to you that you need to be sure that your equivalent, your high school certificate is equivalent to the high school certificate that Germany actually recognizes as high school certificate that can qualify you into the university for you to do dual studies or do any bachelor's in Germany at all. So of course, there's a site, you can check that and all that. That's not a problem. But you just need to know that for most countries, the regular after your 12 years in high school, in your secondary school doesn't count. You just need to bear that in mind. For most people, for most countries, it doesn't count. You need to have certain things. So one option is for you to, you must have attended at least 1 year in a higher institution, at least 1 year. That means if you already have one bachelor's, you are good to go. So you just apply with your high school certificate with your current bachelor's, and that qualifies you. That gives you university entrance qualification into any German university for bachelor's. But then if you do not have that, if you have spent maybe a minimum of 1 year, like your first year in your university or in your higher institution, you put that together with your high school certificate and you're already qualified to study bachelor's in Germany. If you do not have any of this and you only have your SSC, some countries use SSC, that's why I mentioned that, and you only have your high school certificate, then there's a high chance that you will most likely need something extra. There are ways you can go about it. You can go to a pre-college to get that. So that's another story. And then the other difference from Ausbildung is that you need a higher proficiency level. Remember, Ausbildung, the minimum is B1. For bachelor's in Germany, you can't study bachelor's in Germany if you don't have a C1. So you might be able to get admitted with a B1 and then you work on your it's a B2, by the way, and you can work on your C1 along the line for some schools. But then the standard is to have a C1 proficiency for this dual studies program. So if it's something you have in mind, of course, then you need to have a higher skill in German. That's the way it works. So for us at Multilang, we get to work with some connections, and our major connection is not even on this slide, Reify in Germany, which is our sister company. You'll get to see about it much later. So these are some of our connections in Germany for dual studies. Now, the third thing I'll be talking about, since I said I'll be talking about 4 things today. So the third thing I'll be talking about is the skilled worker. Some people are here, they're actually looking, waiting for this. And they're like, okay, get to work concerns me. Now I'm getting to it gradually. So this might interest a couple of people in the room today. Skilled workers relocation. Now, this is big in Germany, and it is one of the ones that the current government is even doing more. It's trying to do more to bring qualified, skilled workers on board. So if there are some professions that are in high demand in Germany, or every time you see job ads, you see opportunities for people who have these skills, because people in Germany cannot fill these positions. Unfortunately, they can't fill it. They can't fill it up. That's what I mean. They can't fill these positions up. And people in Europe are not even still able to fill it up. So then it's extended to people from other parts of the world. So if you're a nurse, physician in general, and then engineers, IT specialists, scientists, craft people. If you fall under any of this, you are under the high skill professionals. All these construction workers, trust me, they need a lot of nurses now, construction workers, IT. So I still had a conversation, I think last week, and a recruiter was still saying that, just in case you're in the room and you fall under this category, someone who falls under this category. A recruiter was still telling me that one of the most difficult fields for companies to get filled up in Germany is, I think, database IT specialist or something like that. So if you're into IT, you probably know what I'm talking about, because I'm not sure if I'm articulating it properly, or I'm just saying, I'm not saying it well, but I think it was database IT specialist. So if anything in that line, you get what I mean, or IT in general. But I just cited that example because she was trying to let me know that it was super difficult filling that position, and as of then they still had not filled that position. So imagine if you have this sort of skill, of course, and then you are coming from any country in the world, you put in your application, they are most likely going to consider you, because there are limited people who can fill such positions here. So now the thing is, if you already have sufficient experience And some form of you need to have verifiable certificate. If you say you are a skilled worker, you need to be able to prove it. So you have your experience, you have the certificates. It's important you have certificates, whether vocational traineeship certificates in the profession, or you have maybe a bachelor's, a master's, or PhD, or whatever you have in the program, but you have to have a verifiable, because you would verify your certificate and they have to be able to see that it is equivalent to a German acceptable certificate or level. So if you have all this, you wouldn't need a traineeship. You can get a job directly. You wouldn't need the Ausbildung that I mentioned earlier. You just get a job. Now, the thing is, these things are mostly tied to language skills again. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get a job if you do not, I mean, in IT and all this skilled work I have mentioned. But the point is, you have a higher chance where you have some language skills, because most companies will employ people who speak English, especially when we are talking IT. But then how about, sorry about that. How about people who need at least, maybe A2 level, like a very minimal level? Some companies need it, but we'll get to that shortly. How do I begin? So I'll talk about the last one, the nursing program, separately using another slide. So just let's finish this one, and then I'll go to that for people, nurses in the house who are like, waiting for this. So you are wondering, so how do I begin with all these things? It's really not so difficult. Now, understand the requirements again, for those who probably didn't get it the first time I talked about it. So the language skill is actually important if you want to do Ausbildung and for the dual studies. For dual studies, you need a minimum of B1. Now, for medicals, anything medical in Germany, you need a minimum of B2. Anything medical, you can't you can't be a medical professional in Germany without having at least a B2 proficiency in German. It is not possible. It is a general rule. So if you are ever considering anything medical, you need at least a B2 proficiency in Germany, if Germany is your choice or dream country. And then, of course, this is Ausbildung. You need minimum of a high school certificate. And of course, you can't be less than 17 years because you need official, you need to have a particular age group. Now, some people will ask me, I know this question might come during question time. Is there a maximum age? No, officially, no maximum age. But of course, if you're younger, you actually have a higher chance than when you are older, because why is Germany and all these developed nations, why are they trying to get people from other countries in? It's because they have an old workforce, people who are already of the old age in their workforce. So if they can't, if they are trying to, solve this problem, then, it's only logical that they will also not want to get old people again to come into the system. So they would rather, many companies would rather have younger people come on board. But of course, like I said, there's no official age, so everybody has a chance. It's just that you have to bear this in mind. So requirements for skilled workers. So if you're a skilled worker, you already have it, especially those who are professionals in some of those fields I mentioned, the ones that are in high demand. So they usually need a minimum of B1 proficiency. That is if a language skill is needed for the job. Now, I keep using IT as a reference because it's one that I just mentioned to you is in very high demand. And now for IT, we all know that English is the IT language internationally, right? People code in English and all. I hope I'm right, but I know English is the IT language. So the thing is, that means for most companies, if you are an IT person, most companies actually don't exactly need the German skill. The English might be sufficient. But the thing is, you have a higher chance when you speak the language, because some companies will want someone who at least has some level of German, even to work with them as an IT professional. Now, going back to the example I made earlier, when I said I spoke with an HR recruiter just last week, and she was like, one of the challenges, because I was like, why not get people from outside? And then the major challenge for her was that there are people from outside that would fit in, but then they don't have the language skills, and they need some language skill. So minimally, B1 is good. So if you can attain a minimum of a B1 German language skill, even as an IT professional or whatever you are, you have a very high chance, especially if it's under the the professions in demand. And of course, you need your relevant and verifiable certificates, which I mentioned earlier. You need relevant experience that you must be able to prove. And when I was talking about age the other time, now this is where it comes to play. So persons over age 45, they need they need to get a job that has an annual salary that is not less than this. If they have this, they are good to go. Very, very good to go. If they do not get a job offer that is this, at least this, they need to look for, provide their own old age pension scheme. So you see now that they are not saying we don't want you, but of course you just have to do extra. You have to do some extra things to be able to get it. But bear in mind that, of course, the younger, the better. So all these things I've been saying, you can get more information on your own. The website is Make It in Germany. So you can look at this thing on your own to read more about this skilled work immigration and all this sort of immigration program that we have talked about today. Now, what are the next steps for you if you are considering, if you think this is for you? I would say the first step is try to get your B1 German language skills if you do not already have it. Now, we are not just providing you with this beautiful information and everything and then just dropping you to float on your own. We can actually help you navigate. We can actually help you swim through and get everything done. So if you are interested and you don't have the skills and you are considering, where do I then learn the German language? You can learn with Multilang. So if you're ready for that, you submit your, if you already have the language skill, you can already, start working on it, like present your certificate and all that. But then if you do not have that, you can decide to sign up for Multilang language, German language relocation. We get you to 6 months. We get you to the minimum B1. That's if you want Ausbildung in 6 months. If you want a higher level, the B2 and the C1, of course, that means more months. But we can get you to that in 6 months. And then, of course, if you're still going ahead with this thing and you want us to be the one, you can do it yourself, by the way, if you so desire. But if you want us to help you do it, because of course we understand how it works better, and then you can send us your certificate and then we verify or we send your certificates for recognition and all that. It's a service we provide. Now, and then you're on your way to Germany already. Now, if you are considering learning the German language course, the next session begins in January, specifically January 9. You have the next session of our German for language course, and you can join the next batch. And every month we have possibilities of having new classes. Now, if you're wondering, so how do our German lessons go? You have the online and then you have the physical. If you want physical, it only works for now in Lagos, Nigeria. And of course, that is when we have up to the minimum number of people for a particular city to start. We can open in other cities if we have enough students who are interested, but mostly online. You can join online, it's flexible. We have had how many groups now? We have had a couple of groups right now. We have graduated a level already. One of our students or some of our students have already written their B2. I think one wrote our B2 exam yesterday already. So it's all our students speak German from the A1 level. That's the first level. We already get our students to start speaking some German because it's an intensive course. And one-on-one is possible if you want. Of course, we have standard teachers. So these are some of the information you need. You can ask us after, so I won't spend time on that. I need you to get the information itself, and the whole step you can ask us later if you are interested. So for our intensive course, this is how it works. We have up to 5 classes a week, depending on the class you have to join. It's a small group, so we don't usually have many people in the room. This is how it works. Like I said, you can ask us for more details. We really want you to understand this program, and you can work around specifics later. Now, our language fees, if you are considering it, like I said, we will say, if you are interested, you ask us, we'll send you all these things. But this is just to give you an idea. If you are considering studying with us, this is the idea of how it works for us. And then some people wonder as well, that with all these things, then what's the cost of me traveling abroad? Now, our sister company in Germany, Reify Consult, gets to handle this processing the whole thing, the work abroad thing. So we have the Ausbildung packet for those who want that, the Dual-studium packet, the skilled work packet, and everything. So if you're interested, you can get in touch with us and we can talk about it later. Now, relocation costs itself, that one is for us. Those are for us if you're going to be going through us. But if you're wondering, so what exactly might this cost me? What are some of the extra costs, the things I should bear in mind? This is just an estimate, just our own rough estimate based on experience. We say there are three pathways, that there are different pathways, by the way, but we are like, you may want to consider any of these three pathways, or at least three of these pathways might work for you. So people who, this is the explanation here, and I'll try to make it quick so you can get what it means. So if you fall under this pathway one, you might need between this amount, you might need around this amount, depending, like I said, this is just an estimate and it's based on different factors, but you might need this amount. And this mostly works for those who will be going for job seekers visa. There's something called job seekers visa. Of course, I can't explain everything at this session, but if you're interested, you can get to know. But job seekers visa usually would go for those going for skilled work. So they can apply for job seekers visa. That means they can get a visa without even getting a job yet. So they get that visa, which is usually issued for around 6 months. They get it from their country, then they come on ground, and then they search for the job when they are on ground. So for such people, of course, you need to show some proof of funds. I mean, like within this period, before you get a job, you can take care of yourself. That's what this monies are not for us, by the way. This is standard what you need with your embassy before you can travel. This particular one, this estimate, this particular slide I'm sharing. So of course, you need something like this. You need to show them that you can sponsor yourself. You understand what I mean? Now, there's no way you can show them you'll be fine in Germany and you won't be a burden to them if you do not show something. That's why this is needed for those who are coming on ground to come and search for a job. Now, of course, those ones, it is a rule. You need, by the way, you need a minimum of B1 if you want to do this route. You need a minimum of B1, and of course, your certificates and everything. There's a way around it. You can reach out to us if you want more information about that. And there's also something called Ausbildung search visa. Like it's just like job search visa. It's under it. It's for people less than 25. They will come on ground and search for the Ausbildung when they get on ground. So they don't need to have received an Ausbildung offer in their country before coming to Germany. They get here. They already have the language skills. They get here and they are able to get the Ausbildung. Now they also need money to prove that they can survive. Now we say pathway 2. This is the reason it is small like this is because there's a minimum amount you have to show for immigration before you can travel to Germany, at the embassy, before you can get the visa. That is even when you get a job, when you get a job contract, whether for Ausbildung or for skilled work or something. The job must, at least your contract must show that you are earning not less than around this amount, 861. So if you are earning, it changes per time. So as the last time I checked, I think it hasn't changed, but maybe it has changed overnight, but it changes per time. So for now, is what I have on this screen. So hopefully it hasn't changed between now then and now. So the point is, if your job contract does not offer you this amount per month, then you have to augment it. That's what it means. So that means you have to block the difference before the embassy, you show them the difference before they can give you a visa. But for pathway 3, it's already probably clear to you. If you earn, more than the minimum expected, if the job contract states that in your job contract that you'll be earning that, and of course you don't need any amount, you are covered. That means they know when you get on ground, you are not going to be a burden to anyone. So that's why I also have it below here that these are some of the things these monies are for your survival. It's not for the embassy, it's not for anyone. They've calculated it that this is around the amount you would need to survive monthly in Germany. So your accommodation, your feeding, your health insurance, and miscellaneous, whatever is what it means. It's like for 1 year, they've calculated that you will you need this amount. And of course, you should also bear in mind that you might need some third party, because of course you will fly, you need visa, right? You pay for your visa, you need flight ticket and insurance and everything. These are some of the things to bear in mind if you are considering relocating to Germany. In general, if you're considering relocating to Germany, you want to bear this in mind. Now, what we are telling you is that every budget fits. If this is something for you, just conceive it, dream about it, and the truth is, I believe your budget can can fit. Now, if you want to go with us, if you want us to process this for you, you just have to focus on learning your language, focus on getting the language skills, because that everything is tied to it. Get your language skills, and then we worry about how we can work around things for you. Thank you. And that's where I will end the slide for this part. So quickly, I will share the slide for the nursing program. So I can quickly run through it for the nurses in the house who have been waiting. So a minute, please. Okay, great. Now I'm sharing my a minute, please. Okay, now I have it live and direct for the relocation to Germany, as a nurse. I won't spend too much time on this because I've mentioned some of these things earlier, in my previous, on my previous slides. So of course, this is just giving you a background to the fact that Germany needs people, nurses specifically, let's say medical people and specifically nurses. This is something you need to know, and they really do need nurses. Now, how do you come in? Because of course the demand for nurses in hospitals, nursing homes and facilities is growing around the world, and Germany is not an exception. Now, what is our offer? We have this partnership, and of course we also do some things on our own, where you get to, there's a way the nursing program works. So you can't just move from your country and jump into Germany and suddenly start working as a nurse. It doesn't work that way. There's a step. So there's something called this exam, nursing Kenntnisprüfung. So it's more like Kenntnisprüfung, so it's like knowledge exam. That's like what it translates into. You need this knowledge exam that shows that you are qualified, even though you are a nurse in your country. You need to pass this exam in Germany for you to be able to work as a nurse in Germany, and of course, even across the EU. So that is the way this particular program works. And what does it do? You get to learn, the German way of the nursing system. You get to, learn the language. That means you have to understand, to learn acquire the vocabulary, the nursing vocabulary in German and all. So they put all these things into the program, and you learn how it is in Germany. You train with a praxis and do all that before you then write this particular exam. And once you're done with this exam, you are certified as a nurse in Germany. Now, what's the eligibility? You need completed your vocational, whether you have a bachelor's degree or master's degree in nursing, or your vocational certificate. Those who went to school of nursing, it works. That's a vocational certificate. So you have any of those certificates in nursing, and then you must already be a nurse, a recognized nurse in your country. So that means you have to have your certificate for practice in your home country. And of course, you need a minimum of B1 to start with. That is just for you to even start with, because you need a B2 to practice as a nurse. So you need to get to the B2 level before you can write that exam and start practicing as a nurse. So the process, you learn German, probably like A1 to B1 level. And then we have this program, the one we call this PAP program is the one we have in partnership with one of the colleges that teaches, aspiring nurses here, those who want to practice as nurses here. So they train you, you get to learn all these things and prepare you. The program is basically to prepare you for this knowledge exam I talked about. So of course you need like B2 level. From B2 level, you start learning the nursing vocabulary, medical vocabulary. A1 to B1 is just general, just to acquire the language in general. And then from B2, you are learning specific language, for this, your medical field. And then, of course, once you have that, you write the exam. But of course, you can already travel to pick up. So before you write that exam, after you're done your B1 and everything, before you write that exam, you travel to Germany and you pick up a nursing assistant position. So it's more like you are training, at a facility, and then you are preparing for your exam. Once you write the exam and you pass, you become a recognized nurse in the EU, and you can start practicing full time. But then, of course, when you are a nursing assistant, of course, you already get paid. So it's not like you're just a nursing assistant without getting paid. So the program structure, the one we offer, the one we are presenting to you, you can learn German with us if you're interested. If you do not have it yet and you're interested, you can decide to learn German with us for 6 months, just like the one I presented earlier. So it's the same. You learn with us. It's general learning, A1 to B1. And then you sign up for this nursing program that I've talked about. So for the program, you get to do the B1 training, you get to have the nursing language curriculum, you are be prepared for your exam, interview, recognition, everything, securing of your job contract. That is for the one where you train with a company, with a facility. We help you get that. And then you are in Germany, you are able to practice, to do you get the job you've gotten, you're able to start practicing as a nursing assistant. You earn around 2,000 euros. I guess that's the minimum above as an assistant. You're not yet a nurse at this point. I mean, you can't practice fully at this point. And then you write your exam. Once you're done with your exam, you get registered, and then you get to practice full time as a nurse. And trust me, there are a whole lot of nursing job opportunities right now that need to be filled up. Unfortunately, many people they've not been filled up. But there is something you need to bear in mind. For us at Multiland, we don't take every country for this program, by the way. So please, if you're interested in doing this with us, you have to let us know. You get in touch with us and we can tell you if we are taking your country or not. And now, of course, I've already mentioned this when I talked about our German program. If you're interested, you can learn this with us. Intensive, and in 6 months, you already have the language skills and you are ready for whichever of the options you are interested in. So you can ask us for this. We can give you more details about how these programs work. Language fee, again, which I've shown you earlier on, so you have an idea. The cost for the program, for the nursing program, this is the cost for the nursing program. This is apart from the A1 to B1. The language costing is different. And then this is for the program to help you with getting the job contract and preparing you for the B2 and other preparation and all the other things that need to be done at this point. That is it. And if you want to get a holistic picture of how the nursing thing works, this is it. So you can take a moment to look at it and try to understand how it works. So it's pretty much straightforward. So it's like you have your A1, A2, B1, B2, and then you get your visa. So at this level, when you have your B1, that is when your traveling is being processed by, if you are going with us, if you are moving with us, this is when your traveling is being processed after your B1. So you're submitting your German CV. We are planning interviews for you. You are working on your job contract. You get to receive your job contract and every other document that needs to be received so that you can travel at this point. And then when you are on ground, you are able to start working as a nursing assistant. And then you are preparing at the same time for your exam. You pass your exam, you get your license, you start working as a registered nurse. So this is more like the program of how it works. Now, all your certificates, bear in mind, recognized certificates are this TELC or the Goethe certificates for the German, if you are interested in this program. And that is the end of my presentation here. I know that you have questions, and at this point, just hold on. We will throw a question into the house soon.